Hi, it's Jen Healy coming back with day 17, and I wanted to build on the conversation that we had yesterday and give you an example of a project I did where I really didn't know what was going to come of it and all the twists and turns in life that unfold, but that everything keeps building on itself and how to follow those impulses even when it gets challenging. So it's actually referring to the last challenge that I did, anything similar to this, because I was reflecting upon that yesterday as I was walking the beach, that the last time I did a 30-day challenge, I did a meditation challenge that I was inspired to create. It was called the 64 Core Activation Meditation Techniques. And it was something that I spent about 6 months gathering these different tools and techniques in my meditation. Spirit was giving me kind of like a list how to reverse engineer this connection to source that I have so I could share it with others, because I was shown that anyone can do this and there are simple techniques that we can do, and I've shared a few of those essential keys with you. And so I was guided to launch this course, and I actually built my own learning management system on my website to do so. And this was back around 2016, where there weren't as many options as there are now for these online courses. And it particularly wasn't very popular back then to utilize YouTube in that way. And so I actually did create 30 videos, one video a day, sharing these meditation techniques, and then launched it into this course in 2017. And it took about a year. It was a lot of work. And then of course it didn't quite yield the kind of results that I thought it might. And I was still wondering what to do with all this information. And then I thought, well, these are really techniques. It's not normal meditation or general meditation. So I wound up creating QHT, Quantum Healing Techniques, and then I was launching that through my website and putting together these techniques more than just like guided meditations, because they were different. And so then I started researching QHT as a domain, and I came across QHHT. And I am very familiar with Delores canon, but I did not know that she had created this whole platform called Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy. And so I was building upon those techniques, and I started studying the QHHT is Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy. And that started in about 2018. And then I have had this ability to communicate with anyone on the spirit plane for a very long time. And so I was having conversations with Delores about her school, and she had graduated. I mean, she passed over to the other side. And so she was looking for people to continue her work. And so I was studying QHHT for several years, and then I went to some online trainings and in-person trainings. And what was really interesting about this is that I walked out of the practitioner training, level 2 practitioner training, the spring, March of 2020, and I walked out into a pandemic. And that was such a surreal experience after going deep into past life experiences and communicating with higher self. It's like the world shifted dramatically. And so when I came back to the Bay Area and they were shutting everything down, I started going, by impulse, by spirit of course, started going to all the national parks and all these places in nature and doing the QHHT out in nature, in the redwoods, at the ocean, and particularly talking to the trees and rocks. And so I was communicating with the spirit or consciousness of the land, and they were giving me information, and I was recording that as Gaia Talks and Source Speaks. And then I made my way all the way to Sedona, and then the rocks started talking to me, sharing with me the ancient wisdom of the rocks, and they asked me to move to Sedona. And I already feel like I'm weird enough, right? Now I'm talking to rocks instead of working with people, because most of my clients had dropped away for those months where we were uncertain of what was going to happen. And so I wound up going to Sedona and started recording these transmissions of talking to the rocks and turning that into the Source Speaks transmissions, which I have shared on YouTube as free gifts, because the the wisdom and the consciousness of the elementals of the land kept saying the most important thing that you can be doing right now is connecting each person to their source. That way they can see, hear, and recognize the truth. And so this was already a passion of mine, but I didn't think it would take that sudden twist and turn. And now, instead of working directly with people, sharing these tools and techniques with them, that I would be working with nature and bringing people out into nature, doing these quantum retreats and having them commune with the rocks, with the trees, with the waters. And so that's a big part of why I'm here in Hawaii and why I love Sedona and Shasta and all these really powerful vortex places, is there's actually consciousness pulsing through all things. It's pulsing through the creatures and the animals. They all have a consciousness and they all have wisdom to share. They all have messages to share. So doing my research in creating QHT, which I still have my quantum healing techniques. I changed that course over because it's not really a meditation course into the quantum healing techniques. That led me to study something like hypnosis, which I never thought that I would even that would even enter my sphere. I've always appreciated hypnosis. I just didn't want to be a hypnotherapist myself. But now, since 2018, I've been doing QHHT, not only with people, but with the elementals, particularly the rocks and the trees and the water. But you know, the air also has a lot of messages for us. Everything communicates to us. So again, I'm challenging myself to share with you some of the deeper parts of myself that I am, we'll just say, a little insecure about, because, you know, it is a little woo-woo to talk to spirit, to talk to people on the spirit plane, and to be even sharing videos about the communications I'm having with nature, with the rocks and trees and water. But that's what I love to do. I love to bring people out into nature and share whatever wisdom and whatever messages that are coming through, not only from their spirit, but from the spirit of the consciousness that's around us. And everything's alive and everything's connected. So following those impulses can take me on these wild, crazy rides sometimes where I'm like, okay, now I'm talking to rocks. And it's been amazing how all of this information has been waking up for people. So it isn't as weird and strange now, like talking to so many people, and I've shared with them, yeah, I'm outside talking to the trees. They're like, oh, I love talking to the trees. And I'm like, oh, that's relieving. I'm not the only one that sits around and talks to nature. But they have a lot to share. They have a lot of wisdom about creating sustainable whole system models that mimics natural law and the universal principles. So it all ties in to physics for me and what we can learn and gain from following natural law. So I think this is the next level that we're moving into, is to really understand the messages and the wisdom of everything around us and how it works together and communes with one another, and it works in a sustainable, symbiotic way. So I wanted to share that today. That's a live example of the twists and turns that have happened on my journey of like facing my fears, overcoming my challenges, actually doing 30-day challenges. It's a big commitment, and you know, there's certain days I'm like, nah, I won't do it today, and I'm like, yeah, you will. And just to keep that dedication and conviction, and that's what builds the momentum, and that we never know where it's going to go and where the next step is going to be. So that's my encouragement for today, is to follow your impulses, even if they seem really wacky and wild and you don't know where they're going to take you. One step leads to the next, to the next. And I have to say, I love the QHHT. I'm so glad that it came into my world and that Delores has been communicating with me on the spirit plane and has asked me to continue that work. Not only can anyone communicate to their higher selves in source, it is an incredible systematic protocol and tool to help people get there and to dive into past lives and to understand the relationship between the lifetime that we've had before and experiences or issues we're having now, that they all kind of bleed over and they connect. So yeah, if you're ever interested, follow up with me about a QHHT session. I also usually start with my quantum healing techniques and teach you how to connect and teach you how to get into these different higher meditative states, the theta state, so you can access your higher self and source and start to get those impulses and messages coming from the higher realms. So I will be back. Thank you for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I'm going to dive into family dynamics and what my family was like growing up, and also what I have seen as the different lessons that come through everybody's choice, everybody's incarnation and their soul path, and what my personal journey has been in that realm. And I look forward to it. I look forward to sharing more. Aloha. Bye for now.